going live, gone live, go for it.
It's Khaled's live stream. We're here to communicate our dream on Khaled's live stream. Welcome to our hearts and minds. I hope you see how we shine on Khaled's live stream.
Wow, there's something there. There's something there. All right.
Yeah, something. A bit stinky.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. Well done. That was good. All right.
Still learning on the piano, man. Still learning.
Cool. Okay, so I don't know whose topic this is. It's got to be both of your topics together, right? I mean, I love this topic as well, but okay, it's Martin's topic. All right. Okay, so Martin. Oh yeah, use your intros as if pretend nobody's ever been to our stream before. So I'll do my usual. This is a ongoing weekly, every Saturday morning discussion between people with different backgrounds to want to make the world a better place. We disagree. We don't pull punches, but we're still friends. And that's I think it's something very important in itself. And we're not here to be simply academic, I hope, but to, as I say, make the world a better place. My personal intro is I'm a Muslim who does happiness classes based on tried and tested ideas of Islam, arguably the most effective truths out there, given the mental health benefits that have been demonstrated of better family structures and all these things are becoming more and more apparent in the face of godlessness,
capitalism,
which is destroying everything. Okay, cool. That's my intro. Who wants to? We're still going clockwise. So Dust.
Always clockwise. My name. Always clockwise. That's how we stay wise. My name is Dust. I come with a 2-year guarantee not to rust, and my attachment to reality is done through the means of human rights, world constitution, and morality. Yes, you may want to have a God, but you don't need a God to do the right thing, unless, of course, you are fundamentally flawed, possibly. My name's Dust. Martin, your go.
Yeah, my name's Martin, and I wandered in here, and I'm stuck here now, so I might as well stay. They're keeping me here. I wanna see a better world, a more fairer world. I'm a living, breathing example of how you can try and be a good person without any God involved at all. I do it every day, and I try and look how other people suffer, or try and put myself in their shoes and think I don't want a world where that person's life is deprived of good things. So I want to try and make the world a better place. I can't do it all on my own, but I can do a little bit of space that I occupy in this world. I can try and do it that way.
Beautiful.
There you go.
I love that. Cool. Okay, so this is Martin's topics. So Martin, I mean, Dust, you're the organizer guy. Do you want to tell him to give him the green light? Do you want to give the rules?
Just so our viewers understand, we get 5 minutes each, and the other speakers can interrupt, but it must be done, of course, within a strict time frame and not exploiting such a lovely luxury as to be able to interrupt. Martin, awesome. Go.
Okay, I've got my little timer here as well. So the question was, does music, art, poetry is the pathway to truth? I guess some of that is open to interpretation, but the truth, I guess, of human experience, the truth of our lives, I think music, art, poetry are the biggest ways or creative ways that we can do that, because we all connect via that way. For example, when I was playing a little bit of piano there, we all connected in that moment, didn't we? Our differences were put aside. We all were kind of brought together with that. And I literally just done it. And I think I've just sort of demonstrate that point. Me and Khalid are very different on a lot of things, but in that moment, with me playing the piano, we both smiled and laughed, and it was fun. So that's an example where music drives through that divide and goes, look, at the base level, you're both human beings. Music has been a huge part of us as human beings as we've evolved and gradually gone along. And music and art and poetry and all those things have evolved with us. They've changed and continue to kind of mirror us in so many ways. It's been a way for us to express our fears, sometimes things we dislike. It's given us a platform to protest, to speak about our experiences. And the more we're able to do that, the more we're able to connect with complete strangers who could potentially be sharing that experience and realize they're not alone. For example, there's been lots of songs where, and I've read the comment threads on sort of Facebook page where they were like, oh, this guy wrote this song, and they were like, I heard that song just at the right time when I needed it, because things were going bad in their life, and hearing that song at that moment was the song that got them through. It cheered them up. It made them feel better because the person who wrote the song was also recovering from drugs, and this person hears that song and go, you know, I'm not alone. So it has an incredible power to really bring people together. I've sat on, coming from the perspective of performing, I've been on that stage, and before that kind of quiet, that kind of build up of energy, we're all itching, ready to play. We've been rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing. It's all building to this gig, and people in the audience are ready for us to play. As soon as I hit that first beat on the drums, as soon as I start it all going, you feel the energy, the connection with the audience, because you instantly start and they recognize the song, and everyone's like, yeah, it's that song, and everyone's together in that moment. I mentioned in a previous video Freddie Mercury at the Live Aid. That was to 1.9 billion people in 150 nations. 40% of the world's population were with them on that stage through that gig. Just think of how many people you connected with that. All those people had different ideas and political ideas and religious ideas and all that sort. But in that moment, they all connected. They all got enjoyment from that. I think it speaks to sort of music, but music, art, poetry, all kind of share these sort of traits. So, like I say, it speaks the truth, because the human experience has its ups and its downs. We have wars and sometimes things go really bad, like pandemics. But then we lift ourselves up because we see the good side of people, and they show charity and they help each other. And so music kind of represents that. You can write songs about war. You can write songs about people suffering, because you're telling a truth about what's really happening or what people are really going through. I've got about a minute, so I'm just going to I wrote down some lyrics. I've got loads of different lyrics, but I want to pick one line. For example, Black Sabbath with the song War Pigs. The lyrics are: generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses, evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. So they were able to write about a war that was happening that they saw as wrong. That was, several decades ago, but it communicates to me now, living now, and I can read that and go and have my own views on war, and it shows, the huge loss that everyone has from war and the tragedy of it. And that's the power of just lyrics can do. So you think of that as in poetry and art and all these things, they show the human emotion, human experience. And the more we are engaged with that, the more, that's my time, but the more we can empathize with other people, and we can try to see how other people are living. That's how we can stay connected and how we can be better people. With just that power of creative medium, whether it's music, art, poetry, writing, the ability to express your creative individualism, your experience, again, can connect other people. I'll have loads more to say, but I'll leave it there because other people need to speak.
I think that was a wonderful introduction to your brilliant concepts of life. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Khalid, what have you, Mr. Righteous, got to say?
Good family feature. I'll just quickly writing some things. Cool.
Jump.
Okay. So give me one. Share the screen. I've got so much to write. I mean, say that I want to use all my 5 minutes. Here we go. Let's go. All right. So I've got three. There's three things here: music, art, poetry. I'm going to start with poetry. There's a saying of Prophet Muhammad says, "Read the Quran in a melodious voice." Okay, the Quran, the guide for life offered by Islam, is written in poetical form, which introduced rhyme as a standard literally to amongst the Arabs, who introduced rhyme to Europeans hundreds of years later. So the Arabs had the idea of or concept of rhyme hundreds of years before Europeans, and it pretty much started from the Quran. The Islamic teaching to read the Quran in musical voice shows that Islam recognizes the positive emotional effects of musical and poetic form of writing. Poetry is often more effective than just plain writing, as it were, as it expresses ideas in compact, multi-layered forms, so lots of ideas at the same time. Islam teaches that musical expression is helpful when limited to voices, but instruments introduce an expansion of endless indulgence into the superfluous, instead of using those resources for more direct benefits to humanity. Sin in Islam is when the use of our natural abilities are used outside healthy boundaries, focusing on feelings rather than on focusing on feelings over facts is unhealthy, as it can be demonstrated in our times when men are being accepted as women because of what they feel, even though a woman is biologically different to a man. And obviously, if you behave something different to your biology, it's going to be bad for you. If you think you're a cat, like some people are identifying as, that's going to also be bad for you. Music. They asked thee, from the Quran this time, they asked thee concerning intoxicants, things that, according to the meaning of the word being used, excites, obscures, or plays with the intellect, and gambling. So that's a different thing. So intoxicants and gambling. Say, in both there is great sin and also some advantages for people. So the men is an old translation, but their sin is greater than their advantage. So agreeing that there is definitely some, even in the melodious voice you're supposed to read the Quran in. Music is not directly prohibited in the Quran. It tells us there is some benefit in amplifying factual ideas with I meant to say emotion. But there is greater danger of indulging in facts over feelings at the cost of truth. Okay, last bit, art. Angels do not enter a house which has either a dog or a drawn picture in it, Prophet Muhammad. Both dogs and... Yeah, I actually did a whole talk about dogs makes us learn the statistical reality behind that. But anyway, both dogs in the house, which creates a different relationship to dogs kept with outside the house. So if you see my videos, I feed lots of dogs outside the house. We've got about 8 puppies there, a couple of dogs. And art, so dogs and art lead to narcissism. This is evident in the massive increase in pet dogs in the UK as loneliness increases, which demonstrates the inability to withstand opinions of different people, and the millions of pounds spent on splatters of paint, so-called art. Islamic art is kept simple with either calligraphy of wisdom in walls or geometrical mathematical ratios which reflect which are reflected in nature, such as the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio, alluding to the order in the universe, and so points to God. An example of that is the Al-Hamram, a palace in Spain built by Muslims, which uses the golden ratio and symmetry. Finally, some interesting points like other kinds of art. Film is an art form of modern times where millions of pounds are spent on fake realities, which we indulge in when our reality is not so engaging. Porn also fits into that category. Fake depictions of reality for the bored and deprived. Boredom is the lack of wholesome things to do, like friends to have meaningful conversations with. Finally, I cannot say I do not ever listen to music or enjoy other forms of art, but it is becoming increasingly rare in my own life. But my art, for example, is writing this stuff and code for software that makes the world a better place. Just two examples of what I like to do, which I could consider art. That's it.
Wow, wonderful. That was very, I think, educational may be the right word. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so Dust, I believe it's your go. Oh, okay, thank you. I'll start watch.
Go Dust.
Wow, I just gotta grab onto some massive delusion is the word, maybe. Khaled's never heard of the Greek culture, who did many poetry and verse and form. So somehow in Khaled's head,
Rhyme
doesn't exist in Greek culture. Maybe Khaled needs to have a bit of a broader education on,
as we say, Google it.
That's Google Homer. I think they'll start off with that, of course. But wow. Yeah, so Martin, wow. Yeah, thank you for the question, because I do think it's an extremely beautiful and powerful question. Why does the children of the Abraham religion is instructed to hate artwork and poets? It's pure jealousy, pure unadulterated jealousy, because what art proves, what music proves, is that you can create something more beautiful than a cathedral through a guitar by a human being who has no relationship or connection with the leadership of the dictators of the Abrahamic religion. No relationship whatsoever, can sit down and create something that will last far longer than any religion, far deeper, and attract a greater audience. And it's that audience isn't there because of slavery. They've been fear mongering. That audience isn't there because if they're not there, then they'll be punished by their religious leaders. They're there voluntary, en masse, and united with many different people, not just one monoculture, which is the desperate dream of the Abrahamic children. And it's pure jealousy that those individuals of free will, without fear or intimidation, can go together to one place and listen to a piece of artwork, be it poetry, music, etc., or a painting on the wall, can go there without the need of a god, but just to marvel at the human brilliance and creativity that human beings have always done since the very first cave paintings. Those long before the Abrahamic religions even existed, there are paintings on walls in caves that date back tens of thousands of years and show the great need of our cells from an evolutionary point of view to capture the world around us. Because let's not forget what poetry really is. Poetry is truth. The very fundamental of truth, maybe of love, of politics, of our interactions with life. And the leaders of the Abrahamic leadership, this is very much what Khaled's always going on about. They cannot have any evidence whatsoever left in society, their dictatorships, because that evidence 99.9% of the time proves how horrible those dictatorships have been for the last thousand years. People like Hitler, who burns books. Khalid, being the child of Abrahamic, he believes that he's been instructed to believe, he doesn't believe in what he's saying. He's instructed to believe that anything that contradicts the dictator should be never allowed to exist and should. That's actually quite funny. Well done. Well done. So the children of Abrahamic religion must destroy all evidence of anything that could lead to a society or a community that is creative, because just like Anne Frank, she created a documentary truth about her reality and world, and that is a repeated story, not just of World War II, but of the last 2,000 years plus of the life of the working class, the powerless, the slave, which is now called working class, ironically. So that's what poetry does. It's a documentary record, a testimony of truth, something that Khalid is desperate to get rid of, the child of Abrahamic. All the children of the leadership of the Abrahamic are desperate to get rid of any paperwork that would contradict their forced reality, being forced by the leadership of. So yeah, your feelings are beautiful, your feelings are true, and your feelings must be recorded forever. And they are far more important than any mathematical pattern on a wall, far more important than any statue of Jesus, because it's your truth, and your truth deserves a place and in any place of worship. And when you go to churches or synagogues, all you see is the patterns of the rich. And on that note, my 5 minutes is up. Mr. Martin.
Okay.
Go.
So, some of the stuff you were saying there, Khalid, maybe you didn't reduce all art to splatters of paint. I hope you didn't reduce all great artworks to just a splatter of paint, because they're far more than that. I mean, I've seen artwork to me that helped me relate to someone with mental health issues. It felt like I could try and see how they see the world. I don't know. I think it's far more than just splatters of paint on a canvas. It's something far bigger than that. And I think do you like classical music at all? Because that obviously doesn't have any lyrics or words to it, but classical music again connects with everyone. It speaks to a lot of people. There's no words or poetic words in there, but it has that power to still do exactly the same thing that some of singing lyrics can do to an audience. When it comes to, I don't manage to attack the LGBTQ community again, but whatever. I don't know how you managed to do that. When we talk about to kind of go on about film, a film can just be more than just an entertaining car chase on the screen and lots of bullets and people jumping around. That's fun, because I can't do that, and it's fun to watch action heroes do that. But film can also have a really, really good, powerful message behind it. So a couple of films I just wrote down, I was just thinking of as you were saying it, like a film like Jojo Rabbit, that mocks the Nazis and the right wing and reminds us of our humanity, that there were people in Germany that didn't believe in the Nazis and were trying actively to help people. That's a really good example, a really good film, and you should always mock Nazis, obviously. Another film that I thought of was Apollo 13. Again, that addresses, that reminds us as human beings of what science and what we can achieve when we're really pushed. Apollo 13 was the failed Apollo flight to land on the moon. They almost got potentially lost in space, and the astronauts would have died in that capsule and never got back. But it was because of the human beings working through the science, the mathematics, working day and night to get those people back home safely. And that's what that film is about. It's a very, very good film. and another movie that came out called Black Klansman, right at the height of Donald Trump. And again, it addresses the KKK during the 70s, 60s, like that kind of KKK America, reminding us that we are entering that stage again, and reminding us of the horror that happens if we entertain groups like the KKK. And of course, Donald Trump loves groups like that. So that's 3 examples of where films they're not just there on the screen to entertain us, to watch actors walk around and deliver lines. They have a real message and a real thought behind them, and a way for you to take something from it when the credits roll. So you keep thinking about it, because you'll be thinking, actually, no, hang on a minute. I don't want to see that world again, and then open up the paper because it's happening again. I don't need to pray. Why do I need to pray for anything to happen? Human beings make things happen. Human beings struggle to help other human beings. That's how things change. Things like that. And no matter how bad things look in Nazi Germany at the time, not every German was a Nazi. There were people desperately trying to help people out, and they could see what was coming. So those 3 films, I could probably look up loads more films. But to kind of come back to sort of like what music does, I'm not sure what time I've gone on, but again, it's to kind of go on what Gus said there. He said a very good point that obviously music and that expression, we were doing that long before anyone was ever introduced to Islam or the Quran. It's, again, I say it's in us, and it's been there since we first begun to build communities and tribes. There are tribes that dance around, they dance around fire, they move to music because it connects them. It speaks to us. Even a basic rhythm on a drum can capture people. At Speaker's Corner, one time there was a protest group. I can't remember what they were, but they were. Sorry, I'll end with this little bit here. Then they were going to march down to Houses of Parliament, and they had all these drums, and they were going to make loads of noise. Extinction Rebellion. And I watched them rehearsing in this big circle, and they were like rehearsing, and they were really, really cool. And that drew so many people over, not because of the Extinction Rebellion bit. It was the rhythm of that music. It pulled people in, and that's powerful. That, as I say again, that really, really connects people together. And those wealthy people and the rich and the ones that would like to keep us under strict control would love to be able to control that, but they can't, because it's ours. I'll end there. Sorry, I don't want to go over too far.
It is ours.
Apologies.
Yeah, that was a very nice sentence. It is ours.
Yeah.
Right, Mr. Khalid. Let's hear some wisdom from your perspective.
Cool. I'm making so many notes on you guys. Okay, what you guys are saying is so long. Okay, so let's go through it. So Martin said in the previous comment and the comment before that, music connects despite our differences. It's a really good point, very interesting. So Islam teaches there are benefits, as I said, there are benefits and harm, but the harm far outweighs them. Many other things other than music connect us in a more meaningful way, where we actually articulate the ideas we feel. No long-term benefit comes from the 40% of people who around the world who connected by listening to the Live Aid concert. Look at how disconnection is increasing amongst those people who support music as a connecting force, whereas there is less loneliness in family-oriented Abrahamic societies, especially Islamic ones. So there's a theory that because on the surface you see people jumping up and down a little bit too, but they're not really connecting. Martin calls music an individualistic method by which people express themselves, and that by its own definition is divisive. Individualistic societies alienate. They don't connect, they alienate, they divide. So next is not... Go on.
I'm just saying to
Yeah.
Martin, if you've got a statement to say, you can say it, Martin. Just a statement.
Go on, statement.
Well, no, what I mean by that is like I write a song, my individual perspective of the world. I play that song, other people connect to that song. I don't see the bad side of that.
So what I'm saying is that you need something that connects us, that transcends our own individualism, is what I'm saying. So if everybody's doing their own little thing in their own corners, they say, I think this is amazing. They're not really necessarily connecting, because it's that individual's perspective that they're focusing on, and they need to transcend something greater. God is the father figure for all of humanity, so it automatically connects people.
The only thing I'd say there is, problem is I'm not aware of a God doing anything, but I am aware of musicians doing things.
Cool. I'll respond to that, because I think you made a point about praying and stuff like that. Yeah. And what we need to do. So, I mean, I might as well, actually, since you said that, I might as well. So, first of all, you're not being aware of God. We did a whole talk. Maybe, I think you weren't there. It was Josh that was there. And I gave scientific evidence that God definitely does exist. It's a basic scientific reality. And then I made some other points, but you might not be aware of God, but loads of people are aware of God, including people who don't necessarily believe in God. There's a great TED talk that I love watching by the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if people know that movie. There's a book as well. And she talks about the supernatural effects of supernatural inspirations that people have, and why those supernatural inspirations are very important to keep sanity of creative people. It's a really great talks. Just check that out. Eat, Pray, Love lady does TED talk on creativity, so just do check that out. Great, thank you for pointing out, Martin, that not all painting is splattered, but that extremes makes us realize how narcissistic it can be. So it's just a simple way of going to the extreme to make people realize how silly art can be. And then when you go to the more subtle things are harder to point out, but they are effectively, I would say, go to hard, more concrete ideas of expression is what I'm saying towards. I agree that Jojo Rabbit, Apollo 13, etc. are good films. I do watch films. The Quran says there are benefits to it, but you can have more effective ways. So I talked earlier on that I might watch films or whatever. I watch things that are not reality right now. Right, so there are better ways. Like, why don't you just talk to each other and actually have conversations? Imagine going to a movie and not talking about the movie afterwards. That's often the case. What happens? Me and Dust watched the movie together. We talked about it afterwards. That's more beneficial than just quietly, like other people, not talking about the movie. So there's all these different extremes to which we can, the more beneficial ways of doing things, and less beneficial ways of doing things. Get almost on Dust point of view, but last one that have I? Yeah. So Martin says music has not. Okay, anyway, music has not created empathy in Martin and Dust, as they hate Islam despite all the good family values it has. So you have to question, does it really have the effect you claim it does? Dust says, art proves we can create beauty without God. I already said Islam introduced rhyme to Europe, but Dust ignores what I say as usual.
You're ignoring the Greeks.
But the Greeks didn't introduce. This is a historical fact. As Dust loves to say, Google it.
Do you know what
Google
date the
it.
Greeks were? Yeah, do you know what date?
Yeah, no. Oh, okay. I will explain. I will explain something, right?
What date was the Homer the Odyssey written? What year? Roughly.
Way before the Muslims. Way before the Muslims. You're making a good point.
Thank you.
No, you make a good point that needs explaining. So a lot of what happened is what the Muslims did. A lot of the material of the Greek material was basically lost and burnt down and things like that. And the Muslims translated them into Arabic and brought them to Europe. So there was no direct influence it's a very important question, actually. And there was no direct influence of the Greeks to Europe. It was through Islamic teachings
Okay.
or Islamic Muslim. Yeah, there's a couple of other points, but I'll leave it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll should have another round.
Sure.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Khaled again confesses to being a non-believer of God. I think that is a repeated cycle that he's had.
You
He
mean
thinks
because I watch movies? Is that okay? Go on. You explain.
No, not
Okay.
because of that at all. Because you think God is fat and not faith. You say God is fat, therefore you're not a believer. You just think it's fat, full stop.
Semantics.
So you're a non-believer. You have no faith, Khaled. You have fat. There's a very big difference. There's a very big difference. There's a reason why those words are all different, because they all mean very different things. So again, Khaled, who repeatedly through our discourse on this prep time, I'm going to call it, has multiple times said,
do you have a belief? Are you a believer in your hat?
It's a fact, my hat. It's a fact.
Exactly. Same thing. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. I don't need to believe my hat is real because it's on my head, and you can see it, can't you? Can you see my hat? Martin, you can see my
different mechanism. Yep, that's right.
Yep.
There's different.
Looks like a hat. Acts like a hat.
And
So
how do we see with our eyes, which we don't literally see? We get the interaction of light. So it's always secondary information that we learn through. Yeah.
I don't mind statements on the. We can do a question on this next week. Actually, Khaled the non-believer.
Sure. Okay.
Sounds like a good question. Is Khaled a non-believer?
Yeah.
So,
faith. What is it?
So
okay, we could make it really personal.
Back to topic. Well, not personal.
Sure.
Not personal. You are you.
Yeah, but it's fine.
We'll talk about this afterwards.
It's great.
Also, right, back to music. This is very important now because austerity is another Abrahamic weapon against the working class, because austerity denies community any wealth whatsoever. So people can't afford guitars, or afford the time to learn to play guitar, or afford the time to write poetry, afford the time to live with each other, learn about each other, talk with each other, and only being fearful of each other is the reality end result of austerity. Austerity isn't just a recent phenomenon. It's been constant and insidious way over thousands of years to maintain poverty. And the billionaire oil families, great. Yeah, I mean, those oil families like Muslims in Saudi Arabia, who are put in power by other Abrahamic leaders in the West, in America. And they pour their money into other Abrahamic religions. But what they won't do is pour into their own country. Look at the state.
Can I ask, what is XR? I don't know what that is.
So what they won't do is pour money into their own communities. They'll leave communities living in austerity, because that guarantees, therefore, you never hear the voice of the working class, never hear what they can sing and produce. And the reason why we do have music is because we broke away from this dictatorship, from part of Winston Churchill's dictatorship, Hitler's dictatorship. I mean, these people are heroes to Khaled, whether he knows it or not, because they all. I mean, it'd be interesting to have a topic to see what does Khaled actually disagree with Hitler and people like Winston Churchill, who just wanted to rape a community of their creativity and humanity and their ability to be able to record and testimony to the horrors around them. Because remember, we've lived most of our civilizations are built on dictatorships, which Khaled thinks is absolutely justified and the closest he can get to God. I mean, he's proud to be a psychopath. Hitler was a psychopath. Satan was a psychopath. And this is what Abrahamic religions do. They twist what humanity is, and those that like to suffer end up becoming, like to see people suffer, become the glory and the God. And those that like humanity are classed as Satan. And all this is just made up, of course, from the Abrahamic point of view. But I mean, how is Satan not a psychopath? And so is our representative of the Abrahamic religion really a Satanist? He's a non-believer. He's proud to say that. And from that, there is no music or creativity, because that is a constant record through time, a thread, a chain of humanity, which we all can read and learn from. But that's erased because it always contradicts the dictators which have transfixed. It looks like spring, summer, and winter has just dawned, transcending in
Oh, I
green
see.
delight.
Summer. I see. I wasn't looking at the screen. I was like, what is he talking about now?
I'll just quickly conclude. So yeah, the conclusion is, well, yeah, music and poetry and creativity is a threat to dictators and murderers, and always has been, to the far right. Thank you.
Extinction Rebellion. Thanks for explaining.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
XR, Extinction Rebellion. Yeah, that makes sense.
Funded by. Oh,
So
very interesting.
we have 10 minutes left. So should we have a quick round and then conclude with our minute?
1 minute things, is that what you're saying? Last
No, we'll
round?
have a quick.
Oh,
quick round,
5 minutes. Okay,
3 minutes each. And then we'll conclude with 1 minute. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah, sure.
Unless Summer
might
wants to,
be
something
able to
to
this,
say,
but
then
she-
we should extend the floor to Summer. We're talking about music and why it's beneficial to society.
Oh no, she was just asking about the shopping just now. Just like
Just woke up.
Well, you can
Sorry.
listen to Khaled, what Khaled's got to say, and then you can respond back to that. Khaled.
If you want, no fault, no pressure.
I can hear
Okay.
you. I'm just around the flat.
Oh, sure. Okay. So I'm just gonna go. I've only got. I'm just responding
3 minutes
to all
each,
of-
everyone. 3 minutes
Yeah,
each.
that's a good one. I haven't got that much to say. So briefly, why do you have to pray to make things happen? Logically, when we discuss proof of existence of God, nobody could refute those basic scientific realities. If there is a God, it makes sense to ask God, the most powerful, than weaker humans. Many non-religious creative people talk of supernatural influences. See TED Talk by the Eat, Pray, Love lady. I've already mentioned that. And then what else did I not talk about? Yes, just because this is a very interesting thing people say. It happened in the past, and as if it's great that everything in the past came from some sort of realm of greater wisdom. So the thing about men doing people doing paintings in caves, just because cavemen did paintings doesn't mean we should copy them. How is that logical? It might have been useful to them in more ancient times, but it does seem a waste of time. They should get out more. Khaled is proud to be a psychopath. It seems to be a side issue, but I'm glad Dust does remember some of the things I do say. Yes, a psychopath is just firstly a person who is less affected by social norms, which is useful. It can be negative as well. Is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. I've kind of said all the other stuff. Yeah. So, yep. If anybody wants to ask me a question,
Wait,
or I can just move on to the next person.
what was that about psychopath? Someone
So psychologically, there are people who are categorized as psychopaths, and I would categorize myself as that, right? And it doesn't mean you necessarily kill people. It means you're just less affected by social norms. That's all.
Have you been like diagnosed by a professional? Because a psychopath
No.
is someone who lacks empathy.
Right. So, or that could be, you could, that's a way of describing it, or lacks the need to follow those things, because I'm not sure we could we could discuss that, but I'm not sure if
No.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Khaled has no idea what the word psychopath means, by the way, Summer.
Yeah, I
no
have-
idea
that
whatsoever.
might be true. A psychopath, by definition, of someone who lacks empathy. I mean, one of the first signs of a psychopath is someone who murders animals when they're a child.
That's
So
true.
I think maybe what you're thinking of is autism.
We could agree to disagree, but I think there's an overlap but subtle differentiation. So yes, I would say I feel less let's say, how would I put it? So I do things, like I teach lots of people for free and all this kind of stuff, right? But I don't feel the need to do it. I do it out of responsibility. So there is a sense, yeah, I would agree. I have probably less empathy as well. Yeah.
So, like,
Naturally,
you'd
even
be-
though I help people more than most other people do. Yeah.
do you believe that you would be capable of stabbing a dog to death and not feeling bad about it?
So that's a sign of bad mental health, but I'm more capable of bad things as well.
No, that's a sign of a psychopath.
That is no, I think it's a sign. Yes, that's true. So yeah, but I don't have all those I don't have all those things, because I think it's so, like, for example, I treat animals very nicely, but I've got more potential for that. So you don't have to enact all of those bad potentials, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
I mean,
so Summer,
Yeah.
Khaled has no idea what the word means at all, and never has done. What I think Khaled really means, he's been manufactured to be a psychopath by his leadership, and so he's developing a certain confusion and identity problem, because Khaled isn't a psychopath, but he's been told by his religious leaders that to be a proper human, rounded human being, psychopathy is a necessity to that goal.
He's
And
just
of
making
course-
things up, by the way. I don't know where he's got all this from.
Yeah, I mean, Khaled has no, as he's just demonstrated right now, he has no idea what the word means whatsoever, and he's never displayed any psychopathic behavior, but he's definitely been told that to be a proper human being, being a psychopath is the golden rule, golden dawn, shall we say?
So just to confirm,
Yeah.
the psychological definition of a psychopath is a person who is manipulative, dishonest, narcissistic, unremorseful, non-empathetic, and exploitive. Criminally, promiscuity and lack of responsibility are common traits.
Cool. There are some common traits, agreed. And I would say, could you list some of the first ones again? Because I'd agree with some of them that come naturally to me.
Hang on,
But it is a different topic, but yeah.
it's a different topic, everyone. And I
Yeah.
do think we.
I
should
would
have a
agree with
topic
some
next
of
week.
those, just to make it sure. I would agree that I go with some of those, but it doesn't mean I follow them necessarily. I have to make more effort than most people.
And
Yeah.
the reason why religion's so important for someone like Khaled is because Khaled would just do quite a lot of horrible things if he didn't have someone constantly looking over his shoulder to try and help him. So he needs the idea and concept of a God, so that he isn't doing terrible things 24/7. That's why he's so addicted.
It does
to
help.
religion. But Khaled thinks everybody's like Khaled. That's the
That's
the
what we do see
twist.
in the world. Yeah.
Khaled only sees himself and sees himself in everybody else. So if everyone else doesn't have a God, therefore they act like Khaled, which is pretty horrendous.
Which is, you're statistically correct. Yes.
So do you think that maybe you just enjoy the idea of a God being around to justify your need to do bad things?
No, because we had a whole debate on the scientific reality that God exists. So it's not like I justify it, because we basically proved it is the most reasonable thing to believe. Nobody has ever experienced a camera or anything being made by itself. Do you know what I mean? We've got no reason to disbelieve in God.
A camera?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So a
don't
camera or
engage in it.
anything. Anyway, it's a whole different discussion.
We're going
But
off camera
there's
doesn't
no
mean unless
reason
we're
to
talking about-
disbelieve
Art and
or
film.
to believe anything makes itself. Yeah.
This
That's the
is
question.
madness.
Yeah, no,
Okay, cool.
yeah. Khalid has come from a
We
very
could do the
strict...
does God exist thing again
Off.
if you want. Yeah.
No, let's do it. I think it'd be a good question. If of course Khalid has to permit it naturally.
Sure. I mean, we
Is
did it
Khalid a
recently, but
psychopath?
if that okay, so yeah, we could.
Is
Yeah, we
Khalid
could.
a psychopath?
I think
could look
maybe
into
what
it, yeah.
you I think maybe what Khaled, what you should look up is, I think maybe you're getting mixed up between being a psychopath and being an autistic person.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think-
would really recommend that you do some research into ASD. Being a psychopath and being autistic are two wholly different things. Being a psychopath isn't someone who is more capable of bad things but chooses not to as long as they have guidance. That's not a psychopath. A psychopath is someone who is inherently evil and lacks empathy enough to naturally do those things, not think anything of it, and doesn't actually realize it's wrong in the first place. That's what being a psychopath is. I'm autistic, so I have an issue with empathy and an issue with maybe more of a tendency to do things that other people would consider bad. But that's not because I'm inherently a bad person. It's because I don't understand the concepts, the social constructs that have been put in place by the rest of the world. And that doesn't require me to have faith to control. It requires me to be willing to learn.
Okay, I mean that's a great discussion. We should have maybe this is a good way to pull Summer into these conversations. We could talk about it. That could be your topic, and then you'd have to. But anyway,
Summer,
we can have different opinions on that. But yeah.
Summer, next week? Would you like to come in on this chat? Is Khalid a psychopath? Question mark.
That could be funny. I don't mind. But
I don't think that would be a good conversation topic because none of us are qualified enough to talk about that. If you're willing
Sure.
to find a registered psychiatrist to sit in, then I would say yeah.
okay.
Um,
should we
I-
wind up this thing? Just because we're kind of talking about
I'm
psychopaths a lot. I don't mind, but it's a bit of a
Personally,
sidetrack.
I'm not willing to discuss things that I don't believe I'm qualified enough to talk about. And that includes most politics, which is why I choose not to go to Speaker's Corner anymore. And it's why I choose not to sit in on conversations like this, because I think people who don't have enough knowledge, understanding, or teachings in a particular topic don't have the right to speak on them, because you're just going to end up coming from a place of ignorance. And I know that because I used to be one of those people until I actually educated myself, realized that I was wrong the whole time. And it's a pretty awful feeling. So I don't engage in it anymore unless I have enough knowledge on the topics. I would say an example of something that I have enough knowledge on would be female issues, maybe growing up as a woman and what it is to be a woman, and maybe what it is to be an autistic person in today's society. However, what I couldn't comment on is some of the stuff maybe that Martin talks about, or male issues, what it is to be a male in this society. I'm not qualified to talk on that because I'm not a male, so therefore I'm not going to put you all through the struggle of listening to me try and talk about it.
You do live in a world where males are important to you, and
Of course,
that this
but-
male is therefore something that's quite central in your life, I believe, and that makes that relationship, that interaction, like the sea meets the sand, something, because there is no entity when the sand meets the sea. Doesn't mean that space and that connection doesn't exist and needs to be described from any level of professionalism or amateurism.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's coming from like a different point of view is a good idea. But maybe I should think of a better example. Like, for example, I wouldn't appreciate a man trying to give me his opinions and justifications on abortion, because there's nothing to do with you, quite literally. The same as I also wouldn't appreciate maybe a middle to upper class person trying to explain to me what it's like living in poverty. It's like, you know, it's, you can give me your side of your side of things, but giving a true description and a true interpretation of what it actually is to live that life is a different thing.
Absolutely. Therefore, that is the very nux of a debate and the very nux of a conversation, which is to question the people that claim to have a view, an opinion, or factual understanding of said subject. And therefore, you would come in at that point and say, it's good that you're passionate, intrigued, and show an interest, but there are holes in your repertoire of understanding the platter of the discussion. Nobody knows everything. Not even the professionals who claim to be professionals.
I think that's a very good topic. Yeah. Do you know enough to talk about any topic? That's a great one.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a danger, Summer, that you're self-editing yourself out of reality.
Ooh.
That's the danger. And it's a dangerous path to go down. But I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying if you don't make your feelings or your factual observations observed, no matter the quantitative value of them, how can we test those?
It's like the dialect. We could all be wrong and a little bit right, and then we could all learn from each other, for example. That could be a way of a benefit, even if we're
but we can only quantify something that we.
I just like to be educated on topics before I talk about them, basically. I'm happy to talk about anything as long as I know enough about it to not make a fool of myself, basically, is what I'm saying.
Cool.
You're Summer, you're intelligent, you're passionate, you're creative, your capabilities have constantly I've been in awe of, in a respectful way, of course. And to self-doubt yourself is this self-editing danger again. Yeah, you're going to be wrong and you are going to make a fool out of yourself, but at least you're trying. At least you're putting the energy in to be a human being and to be somebody that is self-centered, self-creative, and expressive without fear of intimidation, within reason, of course. We're all frightened. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Maybe Martin will convince me.
All right, cool. Shall we wind up this one? Just do the 1 minute thing?
Yeah, we went off topic. Sorry,
viewers, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. I did think it was very important. So it's very important, and occasionally normally we're quite professional and on topic, but going off topic isn't a crime, and it will happen.
Sure. All right. So 1 minute. Who starts?
Martin. Then. Oh no, sorry. It's you, Khaled, Dust, and then Martin. Because it's the subject. He should have the final word.
Sure. All right. So there is something built into us that we are affected by musical voices and different kinds of art. And Islam just teaches what is the most effective way to grow and help society. So is it effective to lead by your emotions or by facts? So Islam prefers the facts, but recognizes the emotions. That's why, for example, the Quran is written in a poetical way and you're supposed to sing it or read it at least in a melodious way. I recommend people YouTubing Quran and listening to it and see if they feel peaceful, and then maybe look into the commentary. A lot of people converted to Islam just listening, or started the process of becoming Muslim just listening to the call to prayer itself, which is put on the speakers every day in a beautiful voice that everybody can hear in the whole community. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you very much. So fundamental. Oh, hang on. Right. Going. Fundamentally, your religious leaders are jealous of your creativity because your individual creativity comes from you, and that is so beautiful and passionate, and doesn't come from them. So it's fundamentally about jealousy. But worse, and far worse, is that your description of your life is a testimony to the horrors which they have put you through and repeatedly put you through. That's why the books are burned. That's why austerity is so fundamental in the Abrahamic West, which we live in at the moment, and why it will never end, because your contribution, your testimony through poetry is the most beautiful thing. And it wasn't written by someone claiming to be part of a god, a claim on which is totally insane when it comes to organized religion, who have privatized your beauty, your spirituality, and your relationship with God. Thank you.
Is it me?
Mr. Martin, endure us with your beauty and humanity.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And my blue hair.
And there's the beauty. There's I'm just.
Oh.
I don't know. So I can only do a minute. So I'll just close with a world without our ability to use art and poetry and music and books and all these creative outlets would be a far sadder, disconnected world. I've seen people come alive on stage once they've got that instrument in their hand, go from a quiet person that you didn't know they were there, and they stepped on a stage and like, oh my god, where did this guy come from? And I literally watched that at Summers Uni. I've been in the audience and experienced people being moved by music. I've been on stage and been the person playing the music, hopefully moving people. Another great song is look up a song for Josh, which is a sad song, but it's you'll connect straight away. Sorry, with the emotion behind that song. You can see the audience connecting with Frank when he's playing that song. So, okay, last thing I'll just say is whatever you do out there, just try and support local bands, local artists, local venues. Get an instrument, play, be creative, write, paint, put as much blobs of paint on a canvas as you can, write as many poems as you can, stories. All these things are creative, and they are all things that are human and express us and connect us. That's really important, is the connection. There you go. I think I went over a minute.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, so we're all saying goodbye. Everyone's happy. My name
Yeah.
is Dust.
Okay, go on.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your channel, Khalid. It's a wonderful, glorious thing that you are doing. And non-psychopathic. My name is The Dust, and I have settled.
I will say thank you guys, as always. Really good conversations. You know, I will say something and you guys are picking up on it. I love it when people pick up on individual bits of what I'm saying, so I can explain it more. So invaluable, you know, involvement from you guys, as well as in the live comments are really interesting. Martin.
Yes, cool. Thanks for everyone for listening. Put in the comments. That was cool. And again, you know, we have different opinions on things, but we're keeping the conversation going, which is more important than it's better than you going off into your room going, no, I'm right, and me going over here going, no, I'm right. We'll never learn from each other.
Exactly.
And as always, Dust with his wisdom, and he's adding more and helping us to see things differently.
Apart from the fact that Martin is right and is always right.
Summer has spoken.
So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of it, people out there. And I'm going to say it: be excellent to each other.
Cool. Very cool. All right, great guys. Have a great week. Obviously, stay on the chat. We're going to discuss next week's questions. But bye to everybody else. Thank you for being here.